Mighty Mercury.
Mighty Mercury.
What is up, Phoenix Mercury fam? I am your host, Erika. Today, I'm joined by QB1, PG1, on and off the court, in and out of the field, in and out of the studio. I twisted that up somehow. How the heck are you, Stephen?
Doing great. That was a very interesting game, but also a very telling game at the very same time. So we got a lot to talk about, but it's coming after yet another win in a very adversity-filled scenario for the Mercury. So the vibes are high. How about you?
I'm amped. 5-2, I can't complain about that. I was just talking to you about how I felt like Mercury has kind of an easier schedule this year than they did this time last year. But as we know, the schedule doesn't really matter that entirely much because that means hard stuff's coming down the pipeline. But some news, we got Kevin behind the Mac today, and we should have Kevin behind the Mac with us pretty much the rest of the Mercury season. So this is excellent for us and for you guys. I feel like us having a producer that is bought in on the Mercury. Ask Kevin how big of a Satou Sabally fan he is.
The biggest, the largest.
But I feel pretty excited about having a producer on our side that's here to help us out. And so make sure you guys all in the chat say welcome to Kevin Thomas, aka Kevo Posts, that's operating the X's and O's and making our graphics for us. We need all that help we can get on Kevin's part. So shout out to him. But I tweeted out this meme Kevin and I both joked, like, I don't want to jinx anything, but this literally was, for those that are only listening, it's that video game meme where the guy's, sat straight and then he crouches down and locks in. Mercury, after being down 18 points without AT, Ka, or Mac. And no, but this is for real. Like, this was a second half team. I joked about this team being a second half team, I feel like all year last year, but legitimately tonight they were a second half team, only allowing 9 points by the Sparks in the third quarter. That in itself, I feel like put the Mercury in a position where they could win the game. Without that 9-point corner from the Sparks, I don't think we're having this win conversation today.
Yeah, definitely not. And to your point, I asked everybody in the chat, what's good? And Andy said that third quarter. And I think that's about as accurate as anything could be. And to that point, for a team to be down to significant double digits while also having internal adversity with injuries taking place, and it feels like them kind of snowballing over the last handful of games. This team just continues to find ways, not just one way, but multiple ways in which they can go about competing, giving themselves a chance at the end of games. Obviously, didn't work in their favor on Friday night against the Lynx, but fast forward 2 days later, pretty much a similar scenario where they're operating without a significant portion of their top part of their roster, and they still give themselves a chance in the end, and they're able to be more clean with execution to close things out. That's the big difference between tonight's win and Friday night's loss, outside of obviously making and taking 3-pointers.
Yeah.
So,
it definitely feels like they kind of learned some lessons from late in game decision making from that loss to the Lynx on Friday, which is good. And then the other thing I guess we should probably mention is the signing of Haley Jones to this team and her getting a few minutes, I guess at the end of the third quarter. And I feel like she kind of helped spark things, continue to spark things, I guess I should say.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And
but actually at the same time, it's intentional too.
Right. But with Haley Jones signing, I mean, things just get that much more versatile for this team. And we kind of saw the product of that tonight. Obviously, Haley's only practiced with the team like literally less than 24 hours. She flew straight to LA to contextualize the signing for you guys just a little bit. She has not even stepped foot in the Mountain America practice facility yet. So that's still to come. But yeah, definitely a big comeback victory for this team.
It was. And again, if we go ahead and kind of debut this new little quick hitter series we got, one word to describe it, I would just say for me, resilient. And I feel like it's a descriptive word that kind of accurately encapsulates what this Mercury team is. Start the season off with multiple injuries. No excuses made. Just go out and handle the business. Now their mettle gets tested even more with significant injury after significant injury as far as the players that are not available. And they just continue to find ways to stay aligned with their identity. And ultimately, because of them buying back into it, and sometimes they sway away from it over the course of a game, that happens. These WNBA teams and individual players on these teams are good to great. You're going to get tested. And it's when in these adverse moments where things are in limbo, you have a choice whether you're going to go off course and try things different, or you're going to stay or even go 10 toes down in terms of being aligned with the style of play that your team hopes to play. And needless to say, the first half of this game, they didn't play any defense at all. And that's the difference in them being down 16, 17 at halftime versus winning by a couple of possessions ultimately to finish it off.
Yeah, I know Kevin's probably going to hate this word, but because we use it so egregiously during Wildcat season, but gritty. They dug deep and they found the will, right? And I feel like that's really important when you're playing with, the depth that this team has. A lot of people didn't think they would have it, but they've kind of sunk their feet into the mud and found confidence within each other. And I feel like it's really showing in a third quarter like they had tonight.
It definitely is. I'm very curious how good this team can be. I already had lofty expectations for them just because of the ways in which the pieces fit. Obviously, including some of the things that I imagine will be challenges for them throughout the season. But the way that their pieces fit, I feel even I had undershot that, considering how well we've seen multiple role players step up to the extents that they have and sustain at the levels in which they have through these first handful of games in the season. We're only literally just barely 2 weeks into the season now.
Yep.
And I feel like we've already learned so much about this team because of the hand of injury adversity that they've had to work up against. And I don't know, this team, like, these are the makings of teams that make things happen at the most crucial parts of the season once we get to August and September. And I think that, yeah, I'm just very impressed. I'll just say that. I'll cap it off with that.
Well, and before we get into the numbers, I do have to ask you, you were in the pregame and the postgame with Nate Tibbetts, and so I know our chatters were asking about Alyssa Thomas's injury and just how serious you think that might be. And you and I kind of spoke about the signing of Haley Jones and how it all contextualizes with everything. But I mean, personally, I'm not super concerned about AT, but I mean, you're here more often than I am. So I guess, what are you seeing and what do you think? How do you think that's going to play into the Mercury's, especially next couple of weeks with them going on the road a little more?
I mean, this is not me reporting. This is just kind of my observations. It feels like the energy was that she could potentially be back as soon as maybe the Lynx game, if not sometime shortly thereafter. So that's not saying that she's going to be.
We ain't breaking no news, folks.
I will re-preface that. I'm just saying it sounds like she's closer to returning than it being something that's significant that they're going to be having a shift and kind of translate to and work towards again. So just keep an eye out on that. But in addition to Alyssa, with Natasha Mack's injury, it was a back injury. The initial deemed time of days that she would be out, that kind of threshold was met today. So I imagine she's back within the next week. Obviously, I'm sure they'll want her to get a practice in before she returns to gameplay. So potentially, depending on what they do tomorrow, I'm not sure how active they'll be, but Tuesday's game is going to be a point where we could potentially expect to see Mac back. And that's them finally starting to bring back the troops. Start to get some of the depth that they were hoping to have back into the original roles that they were built to come to this team with. And I think that's where this team is going to ultimately reach its best. No other updates on Kalia. She just returned to the court just to be active more, kind of chopping down wood and getting back to being on the court. Just a slow process with her. Obviously, she probably won't be back until at the earliest mid-June. So at the minimum 2 weeks from Wednesday, but potentially longer than that. And I imagine they probably wanted to come back at home too, so it'll probably be a little after the 15th.
Think, yeah.
That game on the 15th against Vegas, but yeah, she's making those steps that she needs to return, and the energy is never gone anywhere else though. She's been as active as anybody on the bench that's not named Nate Tibbetts.
Well, and that's funny you mentioned that because she didn't travel with the team to LA, but she was very active on Twitter after the win, and she said, whoever PO'd Satou, thank you. And I say that as well. I don't know who Satou was barking at on the LA bench, but thank you so much for whatever you said, because it really sparked whatever Satou needed.
No pun intended.
And she turned it up, and when she drew that little distance 3, I was like, oh, she ain't taking a loss today. I had no reason to be worried ever at all, but then that for real cemented it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she
did it all with sass.
You step on a dog's paws,
right?
The dog's gonna bark.
Bark.
And that's exactly what happened. Like, we saw it with Alyssa Thomas multiple times already this season. We're still only single-digit games into the season, and we've already seen Alyssa have multiple instances of someone said or did something, and the immediate response is production and impact.
Which, by the way, I know that you might have seen my tweet where I was talking about how someone said that AT was the new Sophie because of the way she is like reactive to other players on the court. I don't know if you guys are unfamiliar with who Alyssa Thomas is and always has been, but I'm gonna need y'all to really familiarize yourself because it's very unserious. Some of these opinions I see sometimes. I'm like, where did you get that?
Yeah.
I don't know how you can say that she is the new anyone. Do you know what I mean?
No, she's one of one.
Yeah, that tweet unfortunately left local waters. You know what I mean? But I don't know where you got that comparison, but no bueno. But we did get a super chat, and I want to get that out of the way before we get to the by the numbers super chat from Psycho Blue SFXT. Craig the Gossiper is impressed with the alignment shown by the Mercury so far, despite missing key players compared to what was shown on the basketball court by the other team earlier this year. $10 though, ayo.
Psycho Blue is one of our many diehards that are in the chat, so we appreciate Psycho Blue. Super active on the Sun side of things. Yeah, there's a little if you know, you know, with his choice of words there. And if you know, it's
he's talking crap about the Suns. I was like really confused. I was like, what?
Specific factions of the Suns.
Okay.
So I won't dive into the details on that, but that is a very witty super chat, as you always do, Psycho Blue. We appreciate you. And yes, I will go ahead and say, as the resident member of both the Suns and Mercury beat here, the Suns could learn a lot from the approach of the Phoenix Mercury, whether it be roster building, whether it be the culture being established, whether it be the choices and players that they're bringing into their team context, whether it be the in-game atmosphere. Like, all of these things matter. All of them.
Kevin,
can't skip steps.
That for the
you
Phoenix
cannot
Sun
skip
show
steps in your
tomorrow.
process. You have to be intentional about all of these things you're doing, and you have opportunity to do that. It's not the Suns podcast, but I'm just saying the Mercury are a blueprint and a template for everything that the Suns could be in theory. Stay tuned. Long summer ahead.
Clip that for the Sun show tomorrow. I feel like that is just, you drop the mic on that.
But that's Psycho Blue throwing it off the backboard again.
Lob.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Kevin, without further ado, I guess we'll get by the numbers.
Chris has definitely been saying this for as long as I've been coming out to Phoenix, which has been almost a year now.
Well, and I asked you in the offseason, I'm like, are we going to have the same lulls that the Suns have? Mm-hmm. And you were like, Erika, absolutely not.
No, I don't
with
see
this
it.
roster
It's
construction.
still early. I just don't see it though.
Didn't the Suns have like a record best start to their season this year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to jinx nothing, my bad.
But it's even that still having watched and analyzed both. It looks and feels way different. So I'll be consistent with that. And if they ever see something that looks different in a negative way, I'll make sure to mention it. But everything's been a stark contrast so far.
Well, I hope that continues to be the case. I like the product we're seeing on the floor from the Mercury right now. So I ain't mad at it. I like winning. So anytime I can come on this podcast and start it with Mighty Mercury, I'm trying to do so,
For sure. Hopefully there's no copyright with that. Maybe we could get the actual sound because that would be fire. But
and then we can all echo.
Might as well just do just do the Mercury line.
Maybe, no, we should just record us saying it, get our own recording going.
We could do that too.
And then that's our intro music.
Yep.
Period.
For sure.
Kevin, Are you listening to that?
I mean, I'm producing. Yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
So everybody in the chat just got to witness. They just got to witness us have basically a impromptu meeting.
Yeah, our bad. Meeting real quick. Just had to make sure we got everything out the way. But now we'll have by the numbers for real this time. You want to talk us through by the numbers, Stephen?
Yeah. Start with the win, getting their first road win of the season and being able to just be loud and impactful in all of that as well. I think it's very impressive considering the adversity that they were up against in this one in particular. And obviously on the left, you see Satou Sabally. When you have a best player, and even if she's operating as the best player without 2/3 of the big three, that can step up in the multiple ways in which she can do so, that helps to set a tone for everybody else to feel more comfortable to play the ways in which make them their best selves. And I think there's a lot of credit that needs to be given to Satou independent of the box score, because it's those intangibles that she has and the ways that she raises the floor for everyone else that helped them get this win. That being said, though, they did not shoot the best from the field in general, but from three-point range in particular, the efficiency they were able to establish and continuing to take the shots that they're able to generate and naturally, obviously, make those compared to Friday night's loss was a pretty big difference in Friday's loss and today's win. And also with the turnovers, them being very good with their ball security, probably at least 3 of the last 4 games, and winning the turnover margin is something that's important for them on a game-to-game basis. Also, without having multiple pieces in their front court to be able to tie the sparks and rebounding as well, extremely important. It's hard to win games if you're not working either at the same level or you're behind in terms of the rebounding margin. So that being something that they were able to tie the sparks with as well was kind of a big reason why they were able to get this win.
Well, and the Mercury did not start the game shooting the ball very well.
Not
They
at
started, I want to say the whole first quarter, they shot 30% from the field in general as a team, and they're not going to win many games doing that. So they definitely dug deep and found a way to make it work. They weren't getting, I feel like in the first quarter, the shots they were getting, they were settling a lot. And honestly, throughout most of the game in general, there was a lot of settling for shots they probably wouldn't have normally liked to take. But it was, they definitely turned it around in the second half to get that percentage back up to 40%.
It definitely did. I would also like to make note of the starting group. They played 12 minutes and 37 seconds today. That group had a +9 on the box score. So they just continue to find ways to just get it done. Again, if that's the lineup that you're going to have on the court most, you need them to be at least neutral. If not, you wanted them to win. That's a little different, obviously, when you have such a stark shift in role for so many players that are in that starting group at this present moment. But the fact that they were able to be +9 against this Los Angeles Sparks team, that says a lot. This team is working with something, and all of it stems from and starts with the defensive end of the floor.
Well, and I saw your tweet that you said there's a lot of identity that's out about this team at this point in the season. And like we just talked through by the numbers, what is something that maybe hasn't shown up in the box sheet that you would say is a definitive about this team?
I would say the versatility, but like a lot of teams have versatility, but how do you feature it? How do you get the absolute most out of it? And I think that the ways they go about defending and the shared IQ that they defend with in most scenarios more often than not is everything. So imagine, think about the very last defensive stop after timeout for the Sparks. They get the ball to Kelsey Plum on the move going to her left hand. Monica Cole-McConaughey does a great job navigating the screens. And because she does such a great job not getting detached from Kelsey as she comes off of the screen to receive the ball, now Satou's help is more impactful in addition to Kathryn Westbeld. But it's the timing of all of that. So Monique stays attached. Satou's able to show help first. And then Kat's able to meet the ball handler right there at the opposite block. There's no pass. There's no room for a shot. There's no room to continue to dribble. And there's no room for a pass. And Kit Loxley is able to get a steal, rotating over to cover for Westbeld on the backside of the court. And it's just little moments like that when they're sharp and they're on the same string defensively like that, and they're just super proactive rather than being reactive with their defense, that's when they're at their best. And that's how you get those multiple stop sequences that we talk about, kills being when you get 3 stops in a row. And you also go and turn and score on the other end while you're doing that with your defense. That's when this Mercury team is at their best. And they have multiple players that succeed in playing in the open court in the ways in which they can do so when they're establishing those kills.
Well, and did Nate Tibbetts have anything to say in the postgame about the comeback and what maybe he said at halftime to spark the victory?
Yeah, he didn't say anything about what he said at halftime. He just said that they decided to guard in the second half, and obviously, without diving into too many details, that is as apt as it gets because they quite literally did not do it. They were uncharacteristically bad in the first half on defense. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Odyssey Sims had scored as many points as she did. I think she had 20 at halftime. And to be able to still be shooting wide open threes after the hot start that she had already established, that's not ideal, nor is that the typical defense that the Mercury play, because coming into tonight's game, the Mercury had the best 3-point defense in the league. Now, that obviously took a hit tonight, and considering the success that Odyssey Sims saw, but I think the fact that they've been so good there, it might not necessarily even dethrone them from being the best defensive 3-point team in the league. So that speaks to who they are, and it also speaks to how out of alignment they were with that in the first half. They regather the troops in the second half, and they just simply get the job done. And as I'm kind of quickly looking up the stats now, just to see the 3-point shooting for the Sparks in the second half, 0 for 8 in the third quarter and 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter. Did not think they scored from the 3-point line in the second half. They indeed did not. That's the difference between the Mercury in the first half, which was not that actual team, and who they showed to be, and who they've shown to be all season long in the second.
With the defensive performance in the second half, was there ever a moment that you thought that this game was still out of reach? Or because, I mean, there were still times where it felt like the Mercury couldn't score, it's seemingly. But I mean, the Mercury felt like they had control of the game kind of coming out of halftime, even when they were still down by 13 points.
I don't think they were ever out of it, just because for them, and this is no pun intended again, the word keeps coming up, all it takes is one spark.
Right.
All it takes is one kill. And if they come out and score off of those kills the ways that they did after the first possession defensively in the second half, that's when they're at their best. And all it takes is for an offense's rhythm to be thrown off by that kill sequence. And if they're going and scoring, they force a timeout, a quick 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 run, even if you're down double digits, now it feels like you're within 3 or 5 when you're still down 7 to 10 points. But the momentum is shifting, and it's shifting in your favor because the game is now being played on your terms. You're speeding up the defense, or you're speeding up the offense with your defense. They're taking late shot clock shots or turning the ball over, and you're just consistently running and running and running. And when the Mercury are running, it's layups and threes galore. Everybody can put the ball in the deck and get to the cup. Everybody on the court, for the most part in their rotation, can also shoot threes. And when they're able to have a defense in limbo like that because they're playing off of stops so many times, that gets very arduous to work up against and kind of meet it with their own resistance.
And we'll talk about the player of the game after the break in about 5 minutes. But Satou Sabally, how important was she for this win? I feel like when you're playing without AT, especially without her even on the bench, I mean, she brings so much energy just being on the bench with them. But how important was she on both ends of the court for this team tonight?
Talking about
Satou.
Who? Satou, yeah. Satou was great. And the first half wasn't the best. And I think that, again, but the tide rose as Satou's level and impact past just scoring the basketball started to resemble that all-W caliber, top 15, top 10 player at her best that we've talked about.
Yep.
And that's when all of a sudden Kit's knocking down threes in moments in the first half. But in the second half, that's where Kathryn Westbeld is able to start getting those threes in transition off of the stops because Satou's just ever active. A lot of people call her the unicorn because of her skill set, but it's the skill set in tandem with her usage and the ways in which she can impact the game. It's not just one or the other. It's both that makes her that unicorn that she is. And I feel like we saw a lot of those unicorn instances surface in the second half in particular.
Yeah, I feel like she's really finding herself in Nate Tibbetts' system, and her confidence is improving, and we're seeing flashes of that top 10 player every game. It's not maybe the entire game that we're seeing her for, but definitely flashes of it game after game.
Yeah, it's still a lot of learning going on, and that's also one of the key things to watch for a team that wins at the highest levels every season. Obviously, how you operate against injury adversity. Winning teams simply just find a way to win. And in tandem with that, if you can win while still learning, like that's not always something that has to work up against your actual win-loss record, because the game is going to be what teaches you. So if you're able to stay aligned with the identity, play to that, and find ways to get wins while you're working through injury adversity, but also while you're working up against trying to get to learn each other, that's where you really can kind of tell what teams are going to truly be contending and what teams are still trying to find their way. And again, a hot start is as important as any across all of sports, with the W in particular, because the season is so short, and even 44 games is significantly less than most other professional leagues. So they're off to a hot start, and I think that a lot of it stems from your first question there with Satou in particular.
Yeah, June is so right. Why is it so hard to hit the like button? Be sure to leave a like, 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe to PHNX Sports, all the things. But yeah, Sparks still ended up shooting 22% from 3 overall this game. I mean,
that's sensational.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for as a Mercury fan.
I think teams were shooting like 27% against the Mercury from the 3-point line.
And they were already number one.
And they were already number one. So 27 on the season and 22 in a game. After a team went 4 for 12 in the first and then 4 for 8 in the second quarter in the first half, that's a stark shift that you need to see. And that speaks to the night and day contrast in first half and second half that we were speaking to open tonight's show.
I'm going to say it. I see a championship twinkle in Stephen's eye. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't go that far. I'm just saying I see a team that understands what they're doing, and they have characteristics of teams that typically go that far.
Steven,
I'm not gonna put that on them yet.
Can you look at your camera real quick?
What's up?
Chat, is there a sparkle?
Ding. I see the sparkle, man.
That's crazy.
I just know the parade's coming, and you and I are gonna be there.
Jefferson is gonna be cracking.
I'm gonna have to fight some people for my parking spot. You know what I mean? But that's okay. I'm down if that means we got a parade. Woo.
Don't get too far ahead of yourself, though. It's barely June.
We're not even 10 games in.
Not even 10 games in. Not even a month in. But again, you're talking about the foundation level, though.
Yeah.
The only other 2 teams that have had a better start to the season are, not surprisingly, the 2 teams that went to the finals last season. Right. Also, just generally the 2 teams that were the best last season. Everybody else is trying to play catch up, and the best way to start getting to that point is to lay a great foundation. And we see what the Mercury have done with theirs so far.
Do you feel like the Mercury are in real contention for that 3rd place spot right now? Mm-hmm. And who do you think their biggest competition is?
Yeah, like I mentioned on the season opening show that we did, everybody's chasing those top 2 teams in New York and Minnesota respectively. And in that field of 3 or 4 that's right underneath the championship teams from last season, it was Vegas, obviously Indiana, Phoenix, and then I threw Seattle in there as well. Seattle didn't have the hottest start, but they've clearly and obviously picked it up since then.
It's tough to have a hot start against the Mercury,
That's fair. But I think it's those 4 teams still. And I think that of those 4 teams so far this season, the Mercury have played the best.
Well, good. Then Stephen
and that's also while seeing by far the most injury adversity of those 3 teams.
Agreed.
Obviously, yeah. Indiana just got the Caitlin Clark news late last week, but that's their best player. The Mercury have been operating without now 2 of their best players for 2 games in a row now.
And Mac.
And in addition to that, another starter in Natasha Mack. So it's a little different, especially for how long they've been working with that, because they just haven't had the services of Kalia Copper. Top 5 finals MVP candidate last season.
Yeah.
That's a lot to not have, especially with so much newness going on. So they're in a good space right now. I think that's the best way to put it.
Well, more from Bark and Spark right after this quick break on the PHNX Mercury podcast. Mountain America Credit Union, man. Everyone, they are so committed to helping their more than 1 million members. Everyone needs a checking account. Get the account with built-in benefits. The Mountain America My Style checking account. They have just the perks for you. You can enjoy restaurant details, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and so much more. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. You can visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Membership is required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions do apply. Circle K.
They're everywhere. Everywhere.
Man.
I think I drove past. One day I counted going from my crib to obviously the studio here. I think I passed like 6.
I was
and I don't
saying,
live that far away from here where we are right now.
It's churches and liquor stores in the South. but it's Circle K's in Arizona. You know what I mean?
It's Circle K is all over AZ.
I just really fear it is the same equivalent, Anyways, but I get Circle K. This is my 5th time driving to Phoenix this week. I've probably stopped at Circle K upwards of 15 times now because of this. So shout out to Circle K for getting me in that 5 cents every gallon club, because when you join the Inner Circle, which all you have to do is download their app, put in your email, put in your phone number, and then boom, you get 25 cents off a gallon for your first 5 fill-ups, and then you get 3 cents a gallon off after that for every single fill-up, and you work your way up to the 5 cent a gallon club, like Stephen, myself, and I know Kevo Post has reached the club himself, I think in the last month. So everyone here is in the 5 cent club. You can join the 5 cent club if you go onto that Circle K app, put in your own email, phone number, join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Marvin is right. Great win by the Mercury. But a certain someone had a hand in getting the Mercury, I would say, in the position to be able to win this game. I won't say won the game for them or anything like that. Nothing crazy. But Kathryn freaking Westbeld. And we got this new fancy schmancy graphic Kevin's cooked up for us for the X factor of the game, and that is exactly what Kathryn Westbeld is for us.
There's a specific animal sound that you make at times. A lot of women make this sound. You can go ahead and
meow.
No, not that one.
Oh, the bark?
The purr.
Oh, I don't make that sound.
Kevin, can you confirm or deny?
I've never purred.
I thought you were throwing me like I was
never
Carl
heard
Details.
it.
I was like, all right, bro.
I only bark and meow.
Okay.
I don't think I've
Can
ever
I
heard
meow? I feel like that's okay.
No, that's not true. Sometimes like you will say purr. You actually
Oh,
will.
well, purr.
Because
I
I've made you a
guess.
graphic before and you've been like, okay, purr.
But I can't roll my R's, so I feel kind of embarrassed.
He made a graphic for Cat.
Okay, purr, big purr.
No, we got to do it with the actual graphic
Okay.
up there though.
Everybody saying it with me.
No, wait for the graphic to be up there
Okay.
first.
Big purr, big purr, big purr.
Now we working with something.
Woo.
Yeah, Cat Westbeld. The plus or minus with the box score is not the most accurate in terms of assessing a player's impact on the game. However, there are moments where it is accurate, and I think her leading the team and leading the game in plus or minus being plus 11, or actually not even leading the game because there are Sparks that had double-digit plus or minus. To my point. But for the Mercury in particular, she led the team with a plus 11 in the box score, and they were certainly at their best when she was on the court. Obviously, the massive 18-point run that they went on in the third quarter had her hands significantly involved in it. And one of my favorite parts within her game, she just makes so many high IQ decisions, and she always seems to be thinking the game and reacting, or not even reacting, but being proactive to the game ahead of things. So, for example, I'm thinking about plays where she's with Odyssey, or she's screening on Odyssey Sims, but she's screening for Monica Koa-Makani, and she's flipping the angles of the screens, and it's allowing Monique to just basically puncture the defense, and then she's able to pop. Now she's wide open shooting threes. She knocks down the back-to-back threes with Monique in that particular context because of that in particular. And in addition to that, she also has these moments where you can see her, like, I always call it like a wheel. You can see the wheel spinning above someone's head. Offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, you can tell she's reading the angles and she has great feel because she gets to them oftentimes before the person that's either trying to box her out or that she's boxing out before they can actually react to it. And then also the last one within all of that, we talked about it last week with Nate Tibbetts about her late help and the impact of that. Oftentimes, because she's guarding front court players, she's typically stationed closer to the basket, if not just closer to the paint. And the way she's able to have impact because she's so early and proactive rather than being reactive with her decision-making, that makes her a literal hand-in-glove fit when you put that in tandem with the many skills that she has, from the three-point shooting to the passing to the ability to just be a great early communicator. A great role player. Stars in the role is what we gave them as the dubbing earlier this week. And she exemplifies that as much as anybody else.
And, it's kind of unexpected for a lot of people, I feel like, with Kat. But for us, it's exactly what we expected from her. And tonight, when I was watching her screen and then get herself wide open, if she's doing that when Kalia is on the floor with her and Alyssa Thomas are on the floor, that embarrassment of riches we've been talking about for the last season and a half really becomes much more amplified.
Yep. It's like so many instances where Kat is just really, really good and really sharp. It's time on task. You give her a task, she's doing the task to a T, and she's also give you a little bit more than what you're asking for. She's such a skilled player. They're running some of the same actions that they run for Alyssa at times with Kat there. And she's making, like, she's not obviously not the same player as Alyssa, but she's finding production from there because of her skill, because of her IQ. No different on the defensive end than she also has done on the offensive end. And again, it's just fun to see players like Kat that finally get their first opportunity. And there is absolutely no looking back. There's no speed bumps in the process. They gave her a baton to run away with opportunity-wise, and she just ran like one of the fastest 40-yard dashes that you could think of. Yeah. And she's still, like, she hasn't broken her stride at all yet. She has moments where her impact maybe isn't there, and then she has moments in the fourth quarter to make up for it by knocking down shots with in the most waning moments of games to where you completely forget, oh, she missed her first like 6 attempts from 3. Yep. But then she knocks down one of the biggest shots of the game while also grabbing one of the biggest rebounds. And just little things like that she has in her personal character, I feel like it exemplifies as well and identifies with the team. And again, what a great find from the Mercury front office. I feel like she's already showing the value there, but I feel like it's going to show even more later in the season, but stemming from everything that they were able to find out about her in this early part of the season because of the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, the adversity has really suited her extremely well, and it stinks for the team as a whole and us as, people that watch the team week after week. But I mean, to be able to find what they found in Kathryn and put them in position, a 5-2 position this early in the season, you really can't ask for much more than this from especially when you take into account all the nastiness we heard about there being no bench or depth on this particular team.
Again, and that's why I'll continue to say it all season long. Just because you don't know players' names doesn't mean that those players are not good. Give them time. Give them time to prove themselves, or go and do your research, or both, and you will see that these pieces fit well. Might not know this player's name per se, but that player has a skill set because I went in and watched their film that fits well around everything that the big three is and the way that this team is looking to operate. And again, that's a major cosign and salute to the Mercury front office because they've done their job and then some, considering they didn't have much of anything, whether it be salary cap or draft pick compensation to actually work with going into this past offseason.
The other player I wanted to ask you about who has been starting, especially since the injuries, but Sami Whitcomb. She's played a little bit of a different role, especially in the last 2 games, being more of a facilitator than she has been over the first 5 games of the season. But I've been pretty impressed with her, and she hasn't exactly had the loudest box score in either of the 2 games that she's been a starter in, but she's been pretty impressive, and she's able to do what you've talked about earlier in the season and set screens for people, but also just straight up facilitate the ball. But also she's not getting smoked on the defense, which is really important on a team like this one where it's so ingrained in their identity. But what have you kind of seen from Sami Whitcomb in especially the last 2 games?
Sammy's another player that she has a specific skill set that's all-time great, and that's her catch and shoot ability. But that's not what she is. She's just a good basketball player. And that's what you want when you're building a team that you're looking to contend with. You need players that can do more than just one thing. And you can't have one-trick ponies. You need unicorns. And that's exactly, the Mercury have that in multiple respects. And you see that with Sami. Sami, very much a sniper, but for my money, the second best shooter of all time. But she has this ability to obviously play make. She can run pick and rolls. I talked about her being an efficient secondary pick and roll player that was going to really help this team, especially once they get fully healthy. I feel like we'll see and feel her impact even more once everybody's in the rotation. But defensively, she's underrated.
Yeah.
You can't win the championships and have the success that she's had if you're ignoring one end of the court, especially because of the position that she plays at guard. There's just a bunch of dogs at that position. And she continues to find ways to have impact because of that. She's not a liability on the defensive end. She's able to get after it. She's able to get steals. She almost led the team in rebounding again. How many times have we said that this season already?
Yeah.
She just gets after it. And you can't have enough players that move like that to where, okay, my best skill, my best quality might not be working, but be proactive again and finding ways to have impact on the game past just what your best skill set might be.
Well, and then we started a new thing. Well, I guess I should say you started a new thing. Stephen's keys to the game. And I've really been liking it, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk through these and make sure, I don't know if we hit all three of them real quick or if that's kind of how you want to do it. But I feel like if we're doing a post-game show, we might as well implement a little section of Stephen's keys.
Yeah, let's talk about them. So the first one being trust the threes that you are generating. And we already kind of talked about that point, but to bring it back up, 12 for 29 from three. That's enough to get the job done. 41.4%. That's good enough. Nate wants them to get up 30 or more threes a game. Obviously, that's a little bit hard at times, but you want to make sure that the shots you're generating are healthy within your offensive process. And for the Mercury, a lot of the threes that they're going to be generating is going to come from the defensive end. So it's not always laborious on the offensive side in the half court. They can generate probably 30% of the three-point attempts they get over the course of games off of their defense alone. So that part is extremely important. And that was good to see 12 for 29 to get it done on most nights for them. Key number 2, controlling the paint points on both ends of the floor. And they were -10 in the point tonight, 36 points in the paint for the Sparks, 26 for the Mercury. But that's why key number 1 is so important, because 3 is going to always be more than 2. And if you can win the 3-point margin, they were +4 in the 3-point margin tonight in terms of makes. They had 12 makes and the Sparks had 8. If you can kind of dictate with that, that helps you kind of find, it gives you a little bit more room for error to have a first half that they did, but then respond in the second half the ways in which they did. And then the last key for me was free throws for Kelsey Plum and keeping her off of the 3-point line. She's been one of the best scorers in the league, and I don't think that should surprise anybody considering her up and roll and her ability to just put the ball in the basket in multiple ways. But one of the ways she's done that best this season is getting to the free throw line. And to that point, she came into tonight's game, what was she, number 10 in free throw attempts at 6 and some change. They only allow her to get to the free throw line 5 times. So she gets 15 points, she gets 5 from the free throw line. You take away her ability to control a game by getting to the free throw line, obviously scoring because she's an elite free throw shooter, and naturally also keeping their defense set and doing that. You take as much of that off of the game process as you can, and that takes things marginally away from the Sparks. And I feel like we saw the impact of the Mercury defense because of that.
Yeah, it definitely would have changed the game had those foul calls gone a different way for the Mercury. There were a few times where either way, it was probably not the perfect foul call, but
there was a bunch of times they just didn't call anything too.
I feel like on Friday's game versus the Lynx, it was whistle galore. Whistle, 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 whistle. I felt like I'm like, this is not a basketball game. I feel like I'm just watching a freaking game of horse or something. Like, this is boring. But tonight's game, I feel like they kind of let him play, which is to the Mercury's advantage. I feel like in most instances. Yeah,
if they're letting them be more physical, that's important because that physicality is a needed component for why their defense is so good. If they allow them to, you can't do it to a crazy extent, but if you're allowed to put your hands on people, even the slightest bit, for the Mercury, that helps them with the turnovers that they're looking to force and generate. It allows for them to play that chaotic style of defense that's controlled, but also allows for them to play to their offense. And I feel like, again, because of the whistle being a little bit more silent at times, they were allowed to play the way that they wanted to in the second half, and we saw what happened once their defense showed up late, but showed up to the party.
Time on task, right? You know what I mean? I feel like Nate Tibbetts got Alyssa Thomas on FaceTime.
Nate would rather not be late, though, at all.
You're right.
If you gotta be late, at least make it count.
I feel like he told an assistant coach, like, do whatever you want at halftime, but you better get AT on the phone. And she just had a stern talking to with the squad real quick. She's like, lock in or get locked out of the facility. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
But as we look ahead to anything else on tonight's game before we jump to just kind of a quick rundown of what's to come for the week?
Yeah. Lynn Roberts and her unique approach to defense, I think, is important for why the Sparks have seen the successes that they've seen after the first couple of games of the season. Erika's best friend, Lynn Roberts, too, by the way.
Pac-12 #1 enemy, Lynn Roberts, correct.
But the way that Lynn uses Erika and Hamby defensively is fun. It's akin to the ways that Nate implores for Satou and Alyssa to operate defensively, where they're giving they're given more freedom to kind of just play off a field defensively, kind of less with principles for those players in particular. If you see something, go do something about it.
Yep.
And everybody else on the court understands that. And because of that, and those players knowing that, for example, if you're thinking about it from a Kelsey Plum or Odyssey Sims perspective, I can be more aggressive on defense because I know Erika somewhere around behind me, and she's borderline first team all defense for multiple reasons, more reasons than you can name in a 5-second clip that I'm trying to get to. So having that value and knowing that you have someone like Erika that's gonna always have your back helps for you to build out a defensive process. And within that, look at the start of the game and you look at who Erika Hamby's guarding. Naturally, you would think, okay, especially without Alyssa Thomas, she's probably guarding Satou. Nope. She's guarding Kit Loxa, excuse me. And she's guarding Kit, obviously in respect to her three-point shooting prowess, which she knocked down 2 threes in the first quarter. But it's so that they can kind of be nuanced with their approach with Satou. So no different than they did last game with the Sparks. We see Lynn Roberts put Odyssey Sims on Alyssa Thomas. Now, obviously, Alyssa's not available, so that matchup now goes for Odyssey guarding Satou. And what it's doing is allowing the Sparks to just get into switches and kind of flatten out some of the downhill access that the Mercury are able to create for Satou within their half-court offense. So that little bit of nuance definitely did them great in the first half, but when the Mercury started playing more off of their stops, that meant that the Sparks defense wasn't set. If the defense isn't set, your process isn't as effective because your matchups aren't what you really want them to be as much as you want them to. And we saw the results of that. And by the time the Mercury got done with that 18-point run that they went on in the third quarter, the cross-matching didn't even matter because they were in such a good rhythm with their offense.
Can we talk about that off-balance late shot clock, Kit 3?
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching Marine Johannes reincarnated.
I didn't think it was good. Yeah. And then they was like, yeah, it's good.
And he's like, I'm going to stop talking. I'm like, thank God. Thank God. No jinxing of the 3-point making.
Yeah.
Like,
but the Marine Johannes point is very good because
they shoot the same. I had to look up right now to see if they're from the same place because I'm like, did they play youth ball together or something and learn that disgusting off-balance shot? I mean, because they both fade away from the wing on a 3, and they're both perfectly capable of making it 6 times out of 10 easily.
Yeah, MJ she has a different flair to hers. I would say her flair for it is unique from anybody else. Maybe even in the history of the W. She's genuinely different. It's like the kids call it aura. I just call it her presence. Cause I'm old.
Marine does have aura.
Yeah, she has that about her game for sure. But yeah,
the kids are unfamiliar with Marine so far because they missed last season, you know. So this year they're in for a rude awakening with Marine. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm jealous of anybody that gets to experience Marine for the first time all over again. Yeah, she's built different, but yeah, for Kit to knock that shot down at the time in which she did, it just speaks to her comfortability with the team, but also her awareness because the shot clock was not in her favor when she got that pass.
Wasn't.
That's what we call a grenade. Someone throws you a ticking time bomb and the shot clock has less than 10ths of a second, and you see what they did with that.
Yo, Mom, I've been mayor for like a week. Like, I don't know where you didn't hear that I've been the mayor, but then also the singing part, not so much about that. We're just like doing rally calls, you know? Like war chants, you know? So I wouldn't say singing is like in my near future. You've definitely heard me sing in the car a time or two. So anyways, but the Mercury look to go take on a rematch against the Lynx on Tuesday, this time in Minnesota. Minnesota is currently 6-0, one of the 2 remaining unbeaten teams in the league. And obviously we've already talked about how the Lynx and the Liberty are by far the 2 best teams in the league. But are there things that the Mercury can do to turn around and get a dub in Minnesota after taking that close loss in Phoenix on Friday? Was it?
Yeah. First of all, a quick update on the Lynx game. They're going up against Golden State.
Oh.
They are up 3 with basically 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
Oh, come on, Valkyrie.
Yeah, the Valkyries are playing defense.
Give that to me.
I know I think she got upgraded from doubtful to questionable, if I'm not mistaken, for this game. So I'm not sure if she played. If she is playing right now, this is a quick live look at that. Come
on, Mo Billings.
And yes, to the tune of 12 points, 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. So yeah, Fee is there. Fee is Fee. It's not her. It's like 75% of herself. The impact is there. But yeah, that speaks to what Golden State is doing. So I'm gonna be interested in watching that game and kind of seeing what's going on with that team because, needless to say, you're going up against the Lynx without Nafisa Collier. That's a complete different team from what they are when she's available and on the court. But you can start with making threes because I feel like the Mercury did a lot of things right in that game against the Lynx on Friday night. They just didn't have the favor of their typical 3-point shooting percentage working to the extent that they usually would want to. And obviously a lot of things happen over the course of games, but literally 1 3 made over the course of that game puts that 3-point that they made, or even the inbound and the urgency of that inbound pass, which was tied at the time, it doesn't matter to the extent that it did. So just little things like that, I feel like if they can clean up over the course of the games, doesn't put them in that position to ultimately have to have that inbound pass go perfectly and not ultimately turn up into a turnover.
Hear me out. It's the Haley Jones, Alyssa Peely showdown.
Again. Yeah, that's a fun matchup. That's a very fun matchup.
Give it to me. I mean, let the Pac-12 live on forever, you know, through me and through the WNBA. I was doing the math today because I wanted to make sure that Haley Jones never played in the ACC, and she never did. Thank goodness. So, thank gosh. Another super chat, though, from BComC. Clearly, us women have to stick together. Congrats, Mercury. Flames, flames, flames. Huge facts on the Flames. Congrats, Mercury. We're pumped about the win. I feel like this it's gonna be a really good week to be a Mercury fan. They got the Lynx on Tuesday, and then later this week, the Mercury will head back home to take on the Valkyrie on Thursday. And then on Friday, there's gonna be a PHNX Mercury show. And then on Saturday, there's a PHNX Mercury post-game show. So I feel like, what do the Mercury fans really have to complain about?
They will be seeing players come back to the court this upcoming week as well.
Hopefully Mack Truck is on the list.
Honk honk.
I'm trying to honk on the account. I've been missing the honking.
We've talked about the character development for Natasha Mack. She's gotten very comfortable out here in Phoenix. And we're seeing a whole lot more of her personality come out in player interactions, but also on social media. Mack is chomping at the bit right now to get back on the court.
Oh, man, that was funny. BComC clearly got another super chat, $2. Sorry, I'm high. The women have to stick together. I'm going to be real with you, Chief. I don't know what you mean by that or the other one, but yeah, the women do have to stick together. The squad, is this another Suns joke that I'm?
No, shout out. Be Calm is a major participant on the Suns side though. Shout out Be Calm. The intention is pure 1,000%.
I know. I sure.
Definitely understood what you meant. You are good. We appreciate you tapping in and with the super chat as well, and then sending another one to follow up. You didn't have to send another one, but you did. So that says how locked in you are. We appreciate you.
I hope you pop into the PHNX Diehard Discord lounge. Say what's up in the Mercury Discord chat, because that made me, as you could visibly see and hear, that made me laugh extremely hard.
Be Calm had a tough season because of the lack of functionality of the Suns. So I feel like more than anybody else, Be Calm probably deserves the potential of this Mercury season as much as anybody else. So I'm glad you tap in with the W. I didn't know you did tap in over here. So looking forward to talking more hoop with you this season.
I hope a lot of Suns find comfort in knowing that there is a winning basketball team here in the Valley somewhere. Yeah. They don't have to look too far either. Play in the same arena, have an arguably better mascot. We were talking about Scorch.
I don't know. You're talking about all these other things. What's those things hanging up in the rafters?
Oh, yeah. Championship banners.
That's what matters most.
3 of them, mind you.
For sure.
I'm like, yeah, I just fear as though, we could be packing the house multiple times per week for this thing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a Suns fan and you're popping in every once in a while, you should pop in permanently. I feel like you might like it over here.
Like I always say, if you are a basketball fan, you'll be watching all of basketball. If you are specific to one side, then identify as such. But basketball fans are going to watch basketball.
Stephen may or may not be dogging on me for not watching the NBA right now.
No, I'm speaking
I'm
very
so
much
booked during
Stephen,
NBA.
that take deserves an air horn.
I'm speaking very much generally right now.
Yeah, watch basketball is what we're saying. We like hoops on this show. I fear we've done a pretty good job of keeping the main thing on the show.
Yeah, needless to say, the way that things go nowadays, you can easily sway other directions which are not conducive. But we don't do that, nor does our chat. And we appreciate all of y'all for tapping in so that we can provide y'all this coverage that we do.
The chat has been very, very funny. The gorilla is legit, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Scorch makes that guy look like a minor league mascot. MLM, which is not a good abbreviation. Well,
I don't condone mascot warfare. I feel like mascots can coexist.
I don't know if you've seen, but the Arizona Wildcats and the ASU Sparky.
I take that back.
Those guys straight up
on
fist
the
fight.
college level, that's a whole different thing. But if
I
you're talking about professional mascots, I think they can be more friendly than the college types because we've seen college mascots getting after.
Yeah, no, I love when a college mascot gets in on the beef. I'm like,
yeah, that's a different animal and a different beast on the college side.
And I'm sure with Michigan State, they have a similar vibe up there. I'm sure with their in-state rival.
Yeah.
It's nasty here.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a tweeter tweeting me right now, actually, about ASU. A tweeter tweeting me about ASU today, and I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but it's baseball season, bro. I don't really tap in with baseball much.
Whoa.
You know,
the diamond sports kind of run U of A.
No, and I know they're killing it right now, and I'm proud of them, but I'm tuned in to the W now. Like, my attention is elsewhere for good reason.
Which WNBA mascot would win like a boxing competition, like tournament of all the mascots?
I fear
boxing,
or just like fighting. We could do MMA.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Ellie wins any fight that Ellie enters.
It's hard to go against Ellie, honestly.
And I like the Lynx. I think it's Prowl is their little cat name, but it's a creepy cat. I'm like, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And didn't the Sky just get a new mascot too?
Yep, Sky Sky. Yeah.
Sky with the E. Yeah, she's cute. Yeah. But I still fear that the Ellie got.
And I think it's Ellie's birthday too. So
which that. Also actually mentioned. If you hadn't said that, I probably would have not said this, but...
Leave it alone, Kevo. Leave it alone.
Shout out to friend of the show, Natasha Mack. Lisi is her girlfriend's birthday today. Actually, fiance, whatever you are. Friend of the show, happy birthday to Lisi. Mac said she'd be mad at us if you didn't say happy birthday. She said she'd be mad. So on the off chance that she's watching this, I would hate to make Mac Truck mad. I'm not trying to get run over. Like, none of that, you know? I'm trying to not get honked at prerogative or... Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. Only positively. Is that another one? I'ma catch... Okay, BCom C Clearly's got another super chat. I'ma catch a Sunstream, so the beef with Garcia I got. Because he's always talking about trade Booker and flapping them comes. Shout out Sabally Ballin. Agreed, $5, bro. BCom C Clearly is one with the funds today. He checked in with the bank before he came here.
BCom always tap in.
Period.
Always one of the most consistent super chatters in the history. Yeah. See, Kevin, you see what I'm talking about, bro? This is not the first time. It's not the first time.
Nonetheless, thank y'all for tapping in with us. I feel like we've had a really good time today, so I'm thankful for this show. I love post-game shows. I feel like they're more fun, almost. You could argue than a regular show.
Gives you live action to talk about, so I agree to an extent.
And I liked watching the game here with you and Kevin, so you guys could hear me and my non-anxiety because I never lacked belief, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Never, not one bit. It's gonna be fun to see how things go the rest of this week, considering we got 2 games before our next episode. So I feel like hopefully we are speaking to a more healthy and whole team come Friday's episode. But stay tuned on that. Obviously, we'll have you covered over at the PHNX_Mercury account over on Twitter. So make sure you lock in with us over there if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's a road to 2K. I've been talking about it. We're talking about it all season long. Road to 2K for the PHNX_Mercury on Twitter. So be sure to tap in with us over there.
You know what that means? What? That means that everybody in the chat should be telling at least one other person.
I'd argue it too.
About PHNX_Mercury.
Yeah, I mean, tap in. Kobe,
if everybody does that. Everybody does that. I don't know how many people we got in the chat right now, Kevin, but we got, 37 likes?
We got 44 people here.
So 44 people here. That gets us up to 88.
It's not that long of a stretch. Like, and I know we can do it. So I'm excited. So tap in with us over on Twitter, PHNX_Mercury. Stephen, where the heck can they find you all week long? And because we're not gonna be back on this screen till Friday.
You can find me on Twitter at StephenPG3, StephenPG3. PG and the number 3. We'll have updates throughout the week with the Mercury. Any news that comes up, obviously pertaining to the team, but in each individual game, and obviously talking basketball there as well, more than anything else. So lock in and let's continue to keep our discourse clean, because this game has so much great stuff happening on the court that all of the nonsense that's being talked about, honestly, is just identifying people. And you don't want to be one of those people. You just want to be someone that enjoys this great game. It's been a great start to another historic season to come. And there's going to be a lot more basketball to talk for people that actually want to talk it. So that's what we're here for. And we appreciate y'all combining with us to create this community that we have.
Yeah, y'all have really no idea. I get so excited to see you guys at all the home games. It keeps me afloat in my chaotic work week. So shout out to all of you guys for tapping in with us on the show, being at the game, saying what's up to me, to Stephen, to all of us here at PHNX. Shout out to Kevin for being here with us on a Sunday evening. I can't say that I've ever done anything on Sunday evening for PHNX Mercury that I can think of.
Was Kevin just hula?
He was.
I was like doing a little like
wave?
arm. I was like doing like the arm, the inflatable tube man thing.
Okay.
I thought he was doing the wave. When
I thought he was doing.
In which case, don't tell Chris. I'm pretty sure Chris is the one that hates the wave.
Nah, it was like the little car dealership arm tube man inflatable waving guy. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't. Whatever. I'm not buying it, but nonetheless. Thank you, Kevin, for being with us here on this fine PHNX Mercury.
Hey, Maria, I need you to lock in.
Yeah.
I need you to lock in. I need you to lock in. I appreciate you hopping on to say hi, though, but we need you to lock in. Let's go.
He said it, not me, so I didn't have to. But follow me on Twitter at Erika Lee Day, and that's Erika with a K and Lee with no H. And follow us both over at PHNX_Mercury. And if you need anything else in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter or become a diehard, and you can hit us up in the Discord lounge. And actually, we got a buzzer beater super chat from BComC clearly with the cutesy legs. LOL. And Stephen, I know that's you.
Yeah, BComC clearly started it, and you see the influence with multiple other people that are not BComC clearly that have been calling me that here on the Mercury side of things the last couple of weeks. So
y'all made me really laugh today. I'm going to rewatch this show on the way home today. I know it was good. Ugh.
By the way, Kobe said ban the wave.
I know that Kobe hates the wave, and Kobe is actually not
Bad things happen during the wave. I'm curious what they talking about.
I feel like it's probably something D-backs related.
Gotcha.
Kobe's the biggest D-backs fan I know. So poor guy's probably, traumatized from something that Corbin Carroll did with I don't know. Maybe not even the right player. I don't know.
You see real-time accountability with Maria. Call Maria out, and you see the immediate response.
Yeah. Put it in your Google Calendar, girl. Like, all the games. There's only, 36 of them
About
more?
36 left, yeah.
37, something like that. I don't know. But anyways, tap in with us on Friday. We will see you over on Twitter in the meantime. Thank you all so much for tapping in with us. Thank you. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.